Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sim Grid, and welcome back to the More Female Races series by Thrustmaster and round 4 of this wonderful championship. We're here at the home of British motorsport and Silverstone. What a place to be for the 4th round of this championship. It certainly is a circuit that's going to bring out the best in these drivers and at least force their hand with a lot of these overtaking manoeuvres that we're going to see tonight. My name is Chaz Draycott. Alongside me, as ever, for this fantastic Monday night of racing is Connell Courtney. Connell, this is, well, the home of British motorsport, of course. It's a hell of a place to be. What do you reckon these ladies are going to make of this circuit this evening?
Yeah, I'm always very, very happy to be at Silverstone, place close to my heart. It's a tough track to be consistent, as fast flowing. If you do make a mistake, you feel as though you're losing a lot of time, and then all of a sudden the car that was half a second behind is now right on your rear bumper. So it's a challenging track, of course, so quick through the corners, a lot of fast corners. And we also have some overtaking hotspots like the new complex, the F1 style complex, with the first few corners of the F1 pit straight causing a bit of a challenge in terms of overtaking and defending, because there's a lot of lines that you can take. It isn't always a one-line circuit, so a bit more dynamic, I would say, in comparison to their previous 2 races at Zandvoort and Monza, in terms of being able to take different lines. So it should be a mix than what we have seen. Maybe a couple of the ones who have been mid-pack starting to fight their way up towards podium contention. We've certainly seen potential from a lot of drivers, actually, and just the races haven't been going all according to plan. So who knows, maybe today can be the day that they can finally show up on their potential.
Yeah, indeed. Like you say, this circuit does level the playing field a little bit, just down to the fact that we've got so many important slipstreaming opportunities here. You know, with it being a Grand Prix circuit, it's a very large track. And the thing is, when you're at Silverstone, because obviously, as most, well, not most, but as a lot of racing circuits are, being built on an airfield, it is a very flat place to race. Now, I've never found it the most interesting when you're driving around it, but it always seems to just provide great racing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's always been a cracker for the actual battles. We've seen 2 or 4 wheels is just non-stop action around here, and to drive itself, it is just all action. I mean, it really is a driver circuit. It is just for the ones who want to commit. Full blast at the corners, of course. Even better now that it's been resurfaced, of course, because we had it at I think 2017 was the last time I was at this track, and it was crazy bumpy. It was really, really bad in terms of the bumps. Those bloody cars with their downforce cutting holes in the track, and it was a tough time. You know, it was hard to set up the bike, and it was difficult to, and it sort of killed the flow of the track. But a new surface on it has really enhanced this track and brought it back to the spectacle that it once was.
Yeah, that's it. It's one of those circuits that's had its sort of heritage, had its golden era, and then, of course, every track has its sort of time where you think, maybe a bit of a refresh is needed. And, of course, this new first section here, very difficult and very twisty. I mean, aesthetically, I don't think it's that pleasing, but it really does make the drivers concentrate, because in cars like this, like you say, with all the downforce, you know, they've got so much aero on them. When they're in slow corners like that, they're relying more on the mechanical grip, and of course how patient a driver is on the throttle and how good they are on the brakes as well. And I think that that's one of the biggest tests of this circuit, is the first 4, maybe 5 corners before they get onto the latter stage of the usual national layout that we're on now as we ride on board with Sebastian Handler in the red Velvet Racing Ferrari, just going around Luffield onto what is the old pit straight, still used as a pit straight today. They're the commentary boxes over on the left, seemingly out in the sticks. But they do still use this front straight as one of them. They've basically got 2 paddocks here at Silverstone. They've got the Grand Prix pits, the wing as it's known, where all the Formula 1 paddock goes. And then for other events, they tend to use that front pit straight. So it's interesting how diverse, or not diverse, I don't think that's the word for it really, but how the track can develop and be used for so many great things. It's quite an interesting one, isn't it? How it's flexible, is that the word? I'm really struggling to get that word out at the minute.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, exactly that. I mean, actually, my first ever lap around here, I got to this point where we use in the bike racing where we use the old complex. So I got to this point and hit this corner right here and thought, oh, hold on, I thought I've just hit the start-finish straight. Oh yeah, no, that's right. There's 2 complexes. So if you're learning the track for the first time, even though you've done however many laps virtually, going to it can be a little bit deceiving. And actually what I've found is early on in the year especially, the sun can be blocked out by that F1 complex on that part of the track. So when the track was wet, everywhere else dried out apart from there because the shadow was from the massive pit complex just cast over that part of the track. So yeah, it's a massive complex. You can pretty much go the whole way around the inside of the track, go anywhere if you're inside the paddock and spectate. Obviously it's a little different if you're just a spectator because you're limited to the stands and the green fields. But yeah, it's a fantastic track, and it's probably, you know, you think of the one we were just at, Monza, and you think of Silverstone and a few others as in terms of the iconic tracks in world motorsport.
Yeah, indeed, it's a hell of a circuit that can accommodate a lot of very different things. But yeah, that wing has been a very, very good addition, to be fair. One day I will come out with the word that I was trying to get out before. But for now, we have a wonderful hot lap from Denise Pope, who we can ride on board with now to show us how it's done around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
Hello, I'm Melissa Taplin. It's my privilege to talk you through a track guide of Silverstone this evening as we follow my teammate, the lovely Denise Pope. So climb aboard the Pope-mobile with me for a quick guided tour. So we start with a really fast, tricky section, turn 1, Copse Corner, 4th gear into a blind apex. Use as much of the curbs as you dare. Next, the Maggots-Beckett's complex, hold on tight for this. And left, right, gradually slowing for each corner. Hands and feet all dancing here to keep the car on track. Again, attack the curbs, but careful not to slip up. Now time for a breather, the hanger straight. I can't see any men in kilts here, but I've been told to look out for them. If you're old enough, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we come up to Stowe Corner, a fast entry, another blind apex, down to 3rd gear, hug the inside, balance the throttle nicely, and when the traffic cone on the outside of the track comes into view, it's full throttle for maximum exit speed. Now starts the slower technical parts of the track, Vale and club corners, down to 1st gear, careful on the throttle, it's really easy to slip here. And watch out for that nasty sausage curve. Then take a deep breath. The next one is a fast one, Abbey Corner. Just a dab of the brake or lift off of the throttle, 5th gear, fling it in and hope it sticks. Whee! On the brakes for the tight right-hander. Get across to the right of the track, ready for the left-hander. Careful on the throttle again here. Then flat out through Aintree Corner and onto the Wellington Straights. Whew, hope you're keeping up, there's a lot going on. Next up, the old stadium section to finish the lap. Into Brooklands, a very tricky left-hander, so constantly slowing down through the corner all the way to the exit. And then into Luffield, hug the curb, and patience really is a virtue here on the throttle, so just wait for it. And finally, fly through Woodcote using a generous amount of track. And it's over the finish line. I hope you all enjoyed this tour with the NSN MFR team, or Nussenruffer as I prefer to call it. Have fun watching the race.
Thank you very much there to Denise Pope for that wonderful lap in the Boatley. one of Cheshire's very finest, the Bentley Continental GT3. And to be fair, I mean, we do poke fun at the Bentley a lot, to be fair. I was going to say occasionally, but let's face it, every time one comes on screen or goes off screen, in that case there, Connell, we do poke fun at the Bentley. But to be fair, it's a nimble bit of kit, isn't it, for the size of it? It's brilliant, it really is. I mean, my appreciation for this car, I don't think will ever end.
Yeah, I think I said Monza, it's the car that if you were to line them up like a police lineup and go, which one isn't the GT3 car? You'd pick the Bentley, wouldn't you? Everyone would pick the Bentley because it really just doesn't look like, you know, every other motor has some semblance of, you can tell that it's a GT3, but the Bentley, not really. But it works. I mean, a lot of people getting the best out of it, both in real life and virtually.
Yeah, that's it. You know, they're such versatile cars, and to be fair, I did remember that word afterwards when I was trying to say that this circuit is a versatile circuit due to the fact that there are technically two paddocks. But that's the thing, there's a lot of real estate on a massive airfield like this. It's not quite like Brands Hatch where there's the tiny amount of garages down the pit straight, and most of the paddock is actually off the exit of Paddock Hill Bend on the outside of the track. But I do think that Brands has done a wonderful job at adapting to that with the fact that there's all the tunnel system to get there. Either way, Silverstone is, of course, the jewel in the crown of British motorsport. We absolutely love this place, and there is bound to be a lot of overtaking tonight. We've seen plenty of it before from the ladies in this fantastic championship, and it's going to be just as exciting. But the question is, Connell, can anybody stop that John Lacey Esports Academy machine, the Rose machine, you could say? Mia Rose and Honore Rose, they're just flying this season, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they really are. Of course, they're trying to go for 4 wins from 4, which I don't think we have seen in any series. And that might be a little bit of a hiccup. Yeah, smashing the car to bits in pit lane is not great. But yeah, they've gone 3 for 3 so far. As we see Charlie Martin into the grass already. This is becoming a very difficult pit exit to navigate. I didn't know it was so difficult. But yeah, of course, the Rose team, the John Lacey Esports Academy team, they have looked so strong throughout this season. I mean, it hasn't been all their own way. If we cast our minds back to the very first round in Misano, I mean, Tobias Pfeffer put Honore under some severe pressure for about 20 minutes straight. I think it was 20 to 25 minutes, and was unable to get through. And you know, Honore's defensive driving was enough to obviously keep Pfeffer behind, but also not really lose too much time. It was a real great lesson in defensive driving. So yeah, and obviously the pace is there too. So it's a very, very strong lineup. That team is looking absolutely incredible. But you did mention earlier, Chaz, this track does level the playing field with the nature of it. But I mean, looking at free practice, they do still look as though they have the upper hand. But as you know, with traffic and everything in this series, anything can happen.
It can indeed. We've got a great spread of talent throughout the pack as well, so you never know what to expect, really. We were just looking at the Hec1 Flexus a moment ago, and here is another very bright and colourful livery to look at. Hedda Rangster in the Turn 1 Pro-Am Aston Martin. Interesting looking machine, to say the least. Love the rainbow diffuser on the back as well. Absolutely loving that. And we're going to see a bit of that, aren't we, tonight? Running wide through that right-hander. It's a very quick corner, but sometimes you just turn in and the car doesn't bite how you want it to. And it's a very tricky corner to get right and sort of adjust to from there, because if you do dab the brakes, if you lift a bit more, or if you put the throttle on a bit harder, you are going to just upset the rear of the car. Depending on what you're in, we're going to see people spin it out there, I think. But it's one of those, isn't it? Every single time you go through it, it feels like a different corner.
Yeah, and especially if those tires are getting a little bit worn, you're still trying to be as greedy as you were initially when things were feeling good, trying to carry that corner speed. And a few of the sausage curbs may cause a little bit of trouble, but you know, it's wide enough to sort of back out of some maneuvers if you can. But there's some corners that once you commit, you can't really back out, and sometimes backing out makes things even worse. So might be a little bit of a challenge in terms of challenging these drivers' racecraft. But as always, challenges, you know, you have to put the pressure on to make some diamonds, and we're seeing a rate of progression throughout this season again, as we see in the first season. It really is great to see.
Yeah, definitely. We really do enjoy watching how these ladies progress. They're now at a level where there's a lot of mixed experience within the sim. Some of the ladies in this championship have been racing with us for 2 seasons now. Some of them, it's their first race for some, and then others, it's their first season doing this. But lockdown has introduced a lot of people into sim racing at very, very different levels, and it's just great to see that we can get a lot of people together in this situation and have a good time with it. Obviously, after our fantastic chat on Friday night last week with Charlie Martin, I am feeling some sort of bias towards hoping that Charlie does well this evening. She was fantastic to speak to on Friday. If you haven't watched our Q&A session yet, please do go and have a look. We were planning for it to be about an hour long, and we just enjoyed ourselves that much. It was at least an hour and 35 minutes. It was just brilliant. We had so much fun, learned plenty about Charlie and her amazing career, and obviously hopes for the future as well. And we spoke about sim racing, the impact it has in series like this as well for female and transgender drivers within the community. It's been a real lifeline for a lot of them as well to just get into a community like this. It's one of the corners of a community that sometimes you may not find very easily, or because it's just one of those things. Everyone tries to have their own part in the community in sim racing, and sometimes you've got to just try and shine the torch a bit more, and that's what we were hoping to do with that. And of course, that's what we do with this series. We've got a very lively McLaren at the moment, Alu Gobi. We were just talking before, weren't we, Connell, about Alu and how quick she's been. And at the moment, that McLaren is on rails by the look of it, although greasy rails, because it seems very, very potent, doesn't it, at the back end?
Yes, absolutely. When people describe a hot lap, this is a hot lap. This is absolutely sideways, trying to get the best out of this car. But yeah, I was just looking. Of course, we've seen practice. Anoya Rose was top of the timesheets with 57.2, and second place was a 57.8. So Gobi already going 57.6, and Gobi was not second place. Gobi was about 6th or 7th in the standings. Of course, could have been testing something other than a quali setup, testing a few race bits out, or some race setup, trying to get the last wee bit of practice in. But yeah, Gobi had pace actually for the podium at Monza, and got involved in a couple of incidents, got some damage, I believe got a penalty, or maybe didn't, but yeah, involved in too many incidents to have a consistent battle for the podium. But certainly the pace was there. A couple of mistakes made robbed her of that opportunity. Yeah, but watch out, especially in the early laps, because she can make her way up through the field, and she's absolutely rapid at the minute, into the 57s.
Yeah, really on a roll at the moment, pushing hard around here. And it's one of those tracks where it's quite a long lap, nearly 2 minutes in a GT3 car. That just means, well, in my head, there's more places for me to get it wrong. Thea Misante with the wonderful sort of strobe light, or what I would have used to call as a kid a cinema light. They're all around the corners. It's like some sort of disco or like a movie premiere or something. You can see the concentration in her face. They're really pushing hard to make sure she gets everything out of it, using the Thrustmaster wheel, of course, partner of not just this series but the Sim Grid. So thank you very much, everybody, at Thrustmaster, for getting on board. But Taya really pushing at the moment. And all of these drivers will be just trying to eke out every single thousandth of a second over the course of their laps. Of course, she's racing in the GTWR female team Lamborghini that you can see in the bottom left of your screen. Now there is the big Boatley with the big gob on the front of it as well. Absolutely love that. That's Team Pineapple. Sarah Johnson behind the wheel of that very large Pineapple indeed. Quite a garish livery, but I like that. It's lively. You've got to stand out, haven't you, in a series like this, Connell, because we've got so many great talents in here and so many fantastic stories with the progression between all these drivers. The livery is the most visual standout you can have, so these drivers have gone to town.
Yeah, I mean, even if you weren't looking at an entry list, you'd certainly remember that car, wouldn't you? And actually, 4th in the championship is the Pineapple team. Fifth in the championship, excuse me, in that Bentley, and a stunning result, actually, to be fair to them. They were my picks of last race at Monza, 19th on the grid, finished 4th. And Monza, especially trying to get through some slower traffic if they're involved in a battle, can be notoriously difficult to stay out of trouble and keep your nose clean. But yeah, they did it, and they made their way up through the order. Of course, there were people in front of them making their own mistakes. They kept consistent, the Pineapple team, and yeah, finished 4th from 19th on the grid, which was absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, hopefully they'll be able to qualify a little bit better, and if they are able to qualify a little bit better, which they do seem to be doing, sitting 5th at the minute, they could have a crack at this podium.
They definitely could. And of course, with the mention of Thrustmaster before, by the way, don't forget that we are also partnered with Coach Dave Academy. A lot of the drivers out there will be using Coach Dave Academy setups, so if you are looking to step your game up within Assetto Corsa Competizione, make sure you do check out Coach Dave Academy. Having a good setup is the first step you can take to, of course, bringing down your lap times, chasing those tenths. If you've not got the car underneath you, you're not going to be able to push against those limits. And this is Jenny Camugli in the Biscuit Motorsport MFR Nissan, one of my favourite, probably my favourite car out there. The livery really does suit this car, it's fantastic. Always been a fan of the Nissan GTR GT3, Godzilla as it is lovingly known. Porsche Sport in the chat, great to see you guys. Good evening indeed. Unfortunately, boys, no Porsches out there at the moment by the look of it, I'm afraid. We're barren of Porsches in this series, unfortunately. Bit of a difficult thing, well, a different situation to the Sprint Cup, which we've covered before, Connell, because that was basically the Porsche Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was, and we'll have, don't forget, an official Porsche Cup on Super Saturday, which you can check out in the SimGrid. But yeah, it seemed as though the Sprint Cup was just an all Porsche affair, especially at the front. I mean, everyone was getting the absolute best out of the Porsches, but no more in this series. I think Porsche could be a bit of a handful around this track, especially at the high-speed corners, but of course the talented drivers get the best out of anything they're put in, and no doubt that some of the better drivers would be able to be fighting up here with the Porsche. But Jenny Camugli, I agree, I have to agree with you, this Nissan, it looks like a proper beast, doesn't it? It's intimidating when it's in your rear view mirror, which I'm sure people have felt. But yeah, it's great to see Jenny Camugli. She was having a couple of great races in the first season. It was a more female race. We've seen her make a couple of potential overtakes of the race in the first season, and yeah, it's great to see her back. We're seeing a lot of people back from the first series, but as we cut to Melissa Taplin, seeing new faces as well, and there's some that we've heard from Chaz that have been sim racing for weeks. I mean, which is ridiculous to go into a league like this, but sometimes when you get thrown in the deep end, I know from my experience in racing, you get thrown into the deep end, it's sink or swim, and it really brings you on quite a bit when you're in such a high level of talent.
Yeah, that's it. A lot of the time, you could sit around and, well, I'll say sit around, but you could drive around and around again and again, chasing tenths, practicing on your own. But at the same time, if you put yourself in a really competitive field, you've got more of a visual representation of who you want to be chasing, what you want to be chasing, and how to improve your own pace. You can then get a definite confirmation of what you're up against. We've got Mia Rose, just fastest at the moment in the Jean Alesi Esports Academy Mercedes Championship leaders. Absolutely on it once again. There is driver swaps, Porsche Sport. There are 2 drivers per car. It's a 1-hour race. And then the pit window, I believe, is either, I think it's between 25 and 35 minutes, isn't it? It's just around that midpoint. But yeah, Alu Gobi doing a wonderful job at the moment in the Pro-Am category. Silver. And again, as Michael has just put in the chat, Connell, and we say it all the time, the improvement has just been insane. She was rapid at Monza, but just a little bit clumsy here and there, just getting in a few incidents, really pushing hard early on though. She was taking no prisoners whatsoever, but unfortunately it didn't pay off very well early on, did it? But that's the thing, you've got to just push it and see what happens. You you miss 100% of the chances you don't take.
Yeah, that's. I mean, there's been many of people who have been you've seen through their younger or inexperienced days be very, very fast and very aggressive. That you can tone them down. It's much easier to make a fast driver safer than it is to make a slow driver fast. So, yeah, there's no doubt that a little bit of refinement in terms of racecraft and Alou can be challenging for the podium pretty consistently. And she's got a great teammate as well. But I did, honestly, to be honest, I thought Mia Rose would have about 3/10, 4/10 on the field here today at Silverstone. Just seeing the practice times, I thought she would have an advantage with the pace she was setting. But I'm really, really impressed by Alou Gobi's times right now. Only a 10th off. Was in pole position up until the last lap. And I thought she might be able to sneak this one, but unfortunately not. Yvonne Vandenberg's actually just climbed up the order. I was looking for her. She was down in about 16th, 17th there, and Yvonne's she's a top 6 driver. Definitely, we've seen her throughout this series be fighting for the top 5 in one of those Lamborghinis, the GTWR cars. And yeah, it was strange to see her down 14th or 15th, but may have just got a few bad laps, and it can happen, especially around this track, you know, and you have maybe you get held up in traffic early on, and you start to feel the pressure of the clock running down. When you try and force it round here, that's when you start running wide, that's when you start losing time, and as soon as you lose your flow at such a track like this, you start to really get frustrated, and that's when the time just drops.
Yeah, definitely. Gobi's gone fastest again, by the way. 3.5 tenths clear now of Rose in second place. That was Charlie Martin we were just watching there in the Turn 1 MFR Bentley. The big old Bentley. And look at that thing. It's just they're just beautiful machines. There's another one in the background as well, of course, which I believe is the number 24 machine. Currently in 10th place with Gemma Moore at the wheel. May have been Taplin, actually, in the 89. I'm probably wrong, but I'm a commentator. We usually are. But Charlie Martin, though, having a pretty strong run so far in this championship, as we've got one of the McLarens pulled over to the side. I remember particularly Charlie's start at Zandvoort was mad. You know, there was cars everywhere, and she seemed to just pinball off all the cars in the middle and somehow made it out in front of them. It was pretty epic, to be fair. The session's just coming to an end now, though, so the drivers will be finishing up. This is their last attempt. This is Sarah Dove across the line in the GTWR female team Lamborghini. 3/10 up at the moment. Moves up into 4th place in the 177 machine. 1.4 seconds off the top spot. Here's Jenny Camugli in the Nissan GTR. Love that thing. I'm never gonna look at that car and not tell you all that I love it. Honestly, really is brilliant. Here we go then, down towards Brooklands, onto the brakes. Long left-hander. You've got to turn in quite late there because it sort of tightens on the apex. Just want to clip the apex a little bit late. Round Luffield again. Clip the apex to begin with, let the car run wide, then get back on the throttle and get a really good run. Use all the curb that you want. Round the final corner, down the straight. As Denise Pope described it earlier, generous use of the track down there. And Camugli is currently 12th. There's the Heck 1 Flexus. Look at that machine. It's an absolute beast. Wonderful livery, very eye-catching machine. Sparkling in the sunlight here at Silverstone. But Celine Witcher ends up 16th on the grid. But very impressive from Alou Gobi there, Connell. And as always, you know, Mia Rose and the John Lacey Esports Academy machine absolutely flying. But there are your standings after qualifying then. Look at that, a second between first and third. That really shows how quick that lap was from Alou Gobi. Yeah,
that was an absolute cracker. I mean, Mia Rose is flying. And to be doing a 57.1, 3/10 quicker than the John Lacey Sport Academy car is very, very significant. Now, we don't know, of course, if she can maintain that over the course of race distance, but of course, she only has 30 minutes to do. Well, thereabouts 30 minutes. It's half a stint than what you would normally do, or what is most common. So it is in her mind and in everyone else's mind a sprint, 30-minute shootout, and yeah, we've seen how aggressive she could be when she was in the traffic of Monza when she was sort of mired mid-pack a little bit. She was fighting for the top 5. Maybe a little bit more composed this time, hopefully with Claire in front of her. She can make a few less mistakes, just get settled down into the rhythm early on, and then see if Mia Rose can follow her. But yeah, looks like it's going to be a 2-car shootout between, funny enough, the 2 leaders of each championship, the Pro and Silver class.
Yeah, it's going to be a great opportunity for them to show us what they can do when they're pitted directly against each other on track. As mentioned at Monza, Alu Gobi, fantastic first few laps, but just maybe pushed that little bit too hard and undid all of the hard work. But yeah, as Andrei Zhurevlev is saying in the chat, fantastic lap times indeed. Really, really quick pace around here, and a very impressive qualifying session from everybody in our field. But if you had to choose one corner to get the job done around here, Connell, I mean, we were saying before about taking different lines, which means that if you're going to overtake somebody, they can usually get some sort of cutback or get back at you the next corner. If you had to pick one corner around here to get it done, where would it be?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think it depends obviously a lot on car, of course. If you're in that big BMW, you'd be looking at the end of the hangar straight, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I think the run down here where we have on camera and into here would be probably one of the best overtaking hotspots. Or if you had a car that flows through the corners well, turn 3 of the F1 pit complex. So you go through the start finish of the F1 pit complex, go through that long twisty right left, and then diving into one of those hard braking zones, one of the few hard braking zones on this track. It's very wide, of course. You can pick a line. Even if someone goes defensive, you can generally try and squeeze your way up the inside. Or if they go too defensive, you can go around the outside of them and get the inside on the next corner as it flips over. So yeah, there's a good few passing opportunities, but I'd say the hard braking zones, the 2 real few hard braking zones, are the ones to go for.
Yeah, I'd say so as well. You know, I mean, we've seen a lot of people try it into those first few corners on the F1 layout of the circuit. Most notably, I believe, was it Charles Leclerc or was it Max Verstappen or vice versa? I think they were doing that to each other in the British Grand Prix. And going around the outside of the first part, putting you on the inside of the second part is usually the way to do it. But we are going to see a lot of overtaking down towards Stowe at the end of the hangar straight. Maggots and Beckett's maybe not so much, unless these ladies are feeling very, very brave this evening. We've seen a bit of that here and there.
Yeah, I've tried it myself, and yeah, bum clenching moment.
Indeed. It didn't work very well for me either, trust me. Down towards Brooklands is an interesting one. Obviously, that's usually the straight for the national layout here at Silverstone. But of course, when you're coming out of the village complex before that, you're going through a fast left-hander, so you're doing a lot more speed down that straight than you would be on the national circuit. So keep an eye out for overtaking manoeuvres there. But as promised, this is going to be one hell of a race. We are going to see so much great overtaking. Thank you to Mike Yao, of course, from Simply Race, for the wonderful broadcast, as ever, that he's bringing us. The great little grid walk there through the middle of the grid. There's Teo Masante, sat on her own head. Interesting use of stream overlays. Obviously talking away to her chat. There is the gorgeous Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. Looks great in all matte black as well. But the nerd in me says, put number boards on it. But of course, this is just a moment now, isn't it, Connell, where drivers just dial in their setups a little bit, just make sure that everything is how they want it. And this is where, I mean, we say it each time, this is where the nerves build up, isn't it?
Yeah, you start to have that little bit of anticipation. It's a weird time, especially in the virtual racing world, because obviously qualifying, the race is straight after qualifying, so you don't get too much time. Whereas in the normal real world of racing, you have your qualifying, and then either it's a few hours later or the next day that you go racing. So you have your qualifying, the adrenaline starts wearing off from qualifying, and then you're right back into the race, and you have to build those energy levels up again. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but yeah, hopefully, of course, the only way that you can totally feel comfortable in the first few laps is by just being done laps after lap after lap of practice to the point where it's almost muscle memory. around this track. And yeah, that is, of course, if you, I think we've all done it where we've joined a race late or something, or we're a little bit unprepared. You feel a little bit edgy, and as soon as you start feeling tight or nervous when you're driving or when you're out actually on hot laps or pushing the pace, is when you start making silly little errors. So no doubt these teams will have done quite a bit of practice, especially the more professional outfits. They dial those setups in, and yeah, they should be ready to go.
Yeah, that's it. There's so many little aspects that you need to think of over the course of a race. So many things that can go right, so many things that can go wrong. But of course, these ladies have been doing a wonderful job so far this season, along with their co-drivers, to make sure that everything they can get right has been going right as well. And we've had some brilliant racing as well. And to be honest, we do keep saying about how inexperienced some of these drivers are. Watching it, you would not think that at all. It's brilliant. It really is. So there's our wonderful looking grid of GT3 cars here on Assetto Corsa Competizione on the sim grid in the More Female Racers series by Thrustmaster. Thanks, of course, to Thrustmaster and Coach Dave Academy. And thanks, of course, to Michael Hamlet for all the information that he feeds us commentators. And, of course, Mike Yao as well for the broadcast. We're bound to have a wonderful evening here at the home of British Motorsport. And it looks like we're just about to get rolling. Ready for an entire warm-up lap then, before the inevitable rolling start. Or at least Alu Gobi's away, clearing off from the field. But there you go, peeling away now, one by one. Great shot there from up in the helicopter. Any early predictions here, Connell? Anybody that you think could get a good start and break away, or anyone that's going to come up through from further back?
I mean, to be honest, I thought, looking at practice, that it was going to be Mia Rose checking out, and the others hopefully not getting involved in battle, doing a little bit of a peloton group and working together. But the qualifying pace that Alu Gobi has shown is really, really impressive. I think she's we've seen the aggression from Gobi there in the last race. We know she has the killer instinct, the dog in her, shall we say, to get into a dog fight. And especially around a track like that, you might need it, especially with Mia Rose pressuring it. But of course, we have some quality drivers, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and onwards, with Benzik, of course, who can do very well in race, no doubt. She made, I think, 5 or 6 positions at Zandvoort in the first couple of laps, so she can make her way up through a field and is quick right from the off. So there's a lot of potential here. And of course, we talk about the flow of this track. A block pass, one block pass, or a pass as you're trying to get the run on to, say, the Hangar Straight or into Brooklands, can just bring the whole gap that you opened up over the couple of laps, 5 tenths, 6 tenths, whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in the group again. And as you said earlier, Charles, slipstream will be very, very important too. So I do expect to see multiple groups here battling. It's just whether they can temper their excitement a little bit if there is someone getting away from them, and work together to try and catch them up again.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've seen it before so many times, how easy it is just to push the car a little bit too much, trying to find those extra tenths. And I've always said, I'd rather be driving safely and be 2 tenths slower. If it's just a couple of tenths in the bag, then it's fine. If you know somebody's constantly a second quicker than you and you don't feel like you've got that in your locker, there's no point trying to push to that. You can take a bit out of it, but don't really push over the edge. All these races really are about survival a lot of the time. It's so easy to make a mistake in a GT3 car. They may have traction control and ABS to help you. Sometimes they can be your enemy. Trust me, I've found out. But at the same time, these are not easy cars to drive at the best of times. So it's going to be intriguing to see how closely we go. You can see some of the cars morphing through one another. Well, this is this sort of is testament again to how long a lap this is, isn't it? Even just the warm-up lap, we always know they're longer than usual laps, of course, because of the pace. But it really is a long lap as the Hec 1 Flexus. Celine's been a bit exuberant on this warm-up lap, just sort of on the throttle, then on the brakes again, weaving around a bit. But pushing a little bit too hard there on the warm-up lap. It's easy to do that, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, we've seen some of the best there. Of course, seen Bottas. What was that? Was that on their safety car in Shanghai? He did it. I seem to remember him doing it. Yeah, so if the best can do it, relatively inexperienced drivers certainly can. And I've done it actually on one down lap, which is coming into pit lane, which is. I blamed oil on the track, but who knows?
Oh, of course, racing driver excuses, mate. Racing driver excuses. Well, we're just about to get underway here then for round 4 of the More Female Racers series by Thrustmaster from Silverstone. It's Alu Gobi in the McLaren on the left-hand side of your shot, leading Mia Rose over the line. And 1 hour of racing is underway. Green flag is in the air. Mia Rose gets a good run.
Drive through for Mia Rose.
Oh, I think she was ahead of Alu Gobi. We've got a couple. Charlie Martin's got one as well. Verena May also with a drive-through. I think some of them maybe held up a little bit too long. They were expecting to go sooner. Alu Gobi and Mia Rose side by side. Alu Gobi's out of shape. She's had a hit off the Ferrari as well. Tamir Benchik just behind. I think there's contact as well. One of the Aston Martins. I think it was the Aston. The Bentley's definitely involved as well. Back on comes, I think it was Benchik that's actually gone off. And at the front, it's still Mia Rose and Alu Gobi. So it was indeed Benchik that dropped down. That was such a shame. It just bunched up a little bit through Maggots and Beckett side by side, but it's still these two at the front. Elbows out once again, Connell.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be like that. Gobi tried to force Mia Rose out wide and not get on the throttles early, but Mia Rose kept a pin, had to take avoiding action onto the grass, and then I don't know who it was. It might have been Benchik. It must have been Benchik that clipped the rear of Gobi and then found herself in a world of trouble. But that wasn't good for the rest of the group. They needed to be working together almost a little bit, staying safe to catch these two, or they even have a chance of sticking with them. And now you can see the pace. Mia Rose is trying to get away early on. She has the advantage of having clear air in front. Gobi is the one making a chase, but Gobi has that slipstream advantage too, can be dragged along away from the group behind. And we know how aggressive Alu Gobi is. We've seen it in Monza. She will make a move. If she can even have a sniff of a pass, she'll be throwing it up the inside.
Will indeed. There was a shot a moment ago in the bottom right of your screen that showed 3 Bentleys all in one shot. I don't know how wide the lens is on that camera, as all around goes Marin Edwards in the Mercedes. Just clipped the grass on the exit of the left-hander. Easy to do. Lit up the rears, car spat the other way. Spins it around nicely again, but unfortunately that was not intended. Spinning the Merc all the way around. We're just looking at Jenny Camugli in the bottom right of your screen. Benchik just behind, but in the main shot, Alu Gobi really pushing hard. Now, will we see that number 21 McLaren chase after the Jean Alesi Esports Academy machine, the Map 1 racing car? It's going to be trying very hard indeed. There is Camugli. Now Benchik has got ahead in the first corner or so. So definitely on a charge now. Look at Benchik just behind Charlie Martin in the Bentley. Doubles the lap time driving around the Bentley, I've heard.
You can't even see the Ferrari behind the Bentley.
There's the wonderful little 488 poking its nose out. Charlie just tries to get some sort of cutback, maybe a little bit of contact there with the back of Tamir Benchik's car. But that Ferrari looks like it's on rails at the minute, defending the inside into club corner. Charlie's later on the brakes. Tries to go to the outside to then get the inside for the right-hander. It's not quite working there. And now Camugli senses an opportunity as well in the GTR. Battle of the Titans, essentially, with the Bentley and the Nissan together on track. Very close indeed. Looked a bit close in the background as well. Behind Witcher, you've got Frau and then May as well. Little trio battling away. As all around is Melissa Taplin. We spoke to Mel at Monza, and it seems that she's had contact as well. Just had word from Mike Yao. And Marin Edwards has apparently gone around. We did obviously notice that the drive-thrus had gone. I think they were given incorrectly by the sim itself. So they have been removed. So no such penalties in this case. Look at the amount of curb that Charlie Martin was taking there in the Bentley. Just trying to shallow out that line as much as possible through Brooklands and then Luffield. There's Sarah Dove, 4th place at the moment in the GTWR Lamborghini. Of course, teammate Alethea Book in 5th place as well. As they go around Copse. Fantastic corner, Copse. It's always one of those corners, isn't it, Connell, where it's so scary. You just turn in and then you just wait to see how quickly the exit curve comes at you, and then you adapt from there, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Especially with the barrier on the inside, you can't really see past the corner. You can't see on ahead past the apex, which you normally be looking towards until you're on the corner. So yeah, it's just about committing and hoping for the best, really. And here as well, you come off the hangar straight. Now we're going to get a replay of the start. This is going to be, see the pineapple car involved in there. Aston Martin getting involved in the mix. There's Jenny Camugli. We were just watching her in the Nissan. A little bit of contact there. Oh, and that car was very, very lucky not to be clipped by one of the Lexuses. I think that was the pineapple car. You can see there just in front. And there's the contact there with Benzik. You can see in front. Was that Sarah Dove?
I think it was, yeah. Yeah, in the Lamborghini.
Well. So yeah, it's just maggots and Beckett's. I mean, you don't want to give up a position. You know, you're fighting for position. You're aggressive on the first lap. But maggots and Beckett's, you can't really go 2-3 wide there, can you, without some form of contact?
No, indeed. I didn't even realise that Dove had been involved in that. I thought it was just the tap from Benchik just upset the Ferrari that much that she lost out for it. But still, managed to survive and make it through. Now we've got Swenson in 3rd place, by the way, doing a mega job at the moment. Looking at the McLaren now, she was 5th. You can see Benchik there goes to defend. They're still too wide at the very front, and then Gobi just runs a little bit deep. Benchik doesn't quite slow it up enough. Dove gets into the side of her, and then Swenson just goes through the middle. Thank you very much indeed, into a podium position. That was awesome stuff. And there is Benchik coming back on. But that was nice opportunist driving there from Mia, wasn't it?
Yeah, you got to be in the right place at the right time, don't you? And she certainly was. It was unfortunate there for Sarah Dove, actually. It looks like she had to try and check up mid-corner when Benzik got together with Gobi. But even just a little bit of aero damage around a track like this can be damaging to your overall race pace, because you see all these corners. It's so difficult for the car to navigate through these fast corners. But it doesn't seem to be affecting Sarah too badly. 3/10 is the gap to that final podium position, and then she has Tia a further 3.2 behind her. So yeah, she is still pushing for that podium spot. The gap is still on her second. That's from Mia Rose and Alu Gobi. So that gap is pretty much stationary at the minute. Of course, Gobi has the benefit of the slipstream and will probably just be, well, we don't know for sure. She might just be hanging on by the coattails, but she's probably just sussing out Mia, trying to figure out if she could get a move done or not. Now we're going to get a replay here. This is on the hangar straight, going to the end of it, and you can get right tucked in that slipstream. Hangar straight feels like it goes on just for absolute ages. As we see Bentley here trying to dive up the inside. Is it going to be a cutback to the inside? No, on the grass just a little bit. And runs wide, not slow, little clip of the grass, and you find yourself losing buckets of time, and then the Lexus can find itself up the inside, but that is contact, and that is Melissa Taplin spun round. We caught that just a little bit late, but the replay, thank you very much, Mikey, for showing us that.
Yeah, it was Sarah Moore there, just obviously thinking, well, one of the Bentleys took me off before, so yeah, you're guilty by association, so have it. Off you go. On board now with Tamir Benchik, chasing down Sarah Johnson. If you're wondering why the sun has been blocked out, it's because it's a Bentley in front. But that was a really good run actually through the Cops there for Johnson. Into Maggots and Beckett's, through the left, tap the brakes, chuck it to the right, back on the throttle, a little bit of brake to the left. That's the worst bit of Maggots and Beckett's. That second left-hander and that final right, just trying to get the car pinched in a little bit. And it's just, there's like this tiny off-camber section through there, and it just feels like the car doesn't want to do what you're asking it to. Tamir Benchik looking down the inside, that's late, but still gets it done. Nice stuff. And now in the bottom right of your screen is the battle for 3rd position. That's Sarah Dove on the back of Mia Svensson. Lamborghini against McLaren. Both rear-engine cars. McLaren a V8, Lamborghini a V10. Both wonderful sounding cars. The McLaren are very sort of, how would you describe it? It's a unique sound from the McLaren. It doesn't sound like your normal V8, similar to the Ferrari. I think it's because they're turbocharged. They don't sound like your normal big lumpy American beefy V8s. Now look at this from Saradov, taking a wide entrance into the corner to get a late apex and then get the run out, but it didn't quite work there. The Neptune Racing McLaren really flying down towards Brooklands and onto the brakes, trying to again get that tucked in. It's just not easy down there, and then you've got to try and get the car swung round to the right as well. It's a difficult part of the circuit, isn't it? We spoke about the heritage of Silverstone, didn't we, Connell? But that's one of the main parts that's not been changed that greatly since it was first introduced.
No, it hasn't, and all power to it, really. I mean, we want to see the historic circuits remain historic, don't we? Some of the old layouts are absolutely amazing, and we see a lot of tracks get neutered a little bit, whether it be safety grounds or for commercial reasons. And of course, there's been a little bit of the Silverstone track getting neutered. I mean, the old circuit, I think, personally, would be preferable to drive, but in saying that, it is still an absolutely wonderful circuit, and we still have some of the iconic corners around this track. And that last corner there that we were seeing punching out of, we've seen some fantastic finishes recently coming out of there on the run to the line. You can, if the car in front makes a little bit of a mistake, you can get the run to the line, but it's very difficult too. But we've seen it happen, and we've seen some runs to the line before. Of course, we've seen in a very satisfying victory, Alex Rins beat Marc Marquez over the line like that in 2019, and that made me very happy. So I just want to throw that in there as a dig to Mr. Marquez. But regardless, we'll move on. And I started off. It looks as though Sarah is relatively comfortable behind the McLaren. She just, you mentioned earlier, right here a lap ago, Chaz, that she's just taking a different line, trying to go out wide and punch out of the corner to see if she can get the slipstream. And that just screams to me that Sarah is trying new things to see what would work if I were to make a pass. And that's good. I mean, if you're behind and you're relatively comfortable, if you make a mistake or the line doesn't work out, you feel as though you can make that time up again. It's good to try out that sort of alternative lines and see what works, because you can find something. Sometimes, whether it be the track developing, of course, with pretty much perfect conditions that don't look like they're going to change, but if you're developing track or your car developing in terms of tyre wear and fuel load, you can adjust your lines a little bit. So it's good to see Sarah Dove trying new things out and seeing what works, and she's right on the back again of that McLaren, so she should be making a pass soon. Now, who was that using all of the track and a lot more in the background? Was that T in the Lamborghini? I think she's under pressure, although she's been passed already by Benzik, who's making up huge ground. And it looks like Benzik really has pace here. She was a little bit off the front two in qualifying, but watch out for Tamia Benzik here as we get into the later stages of their stint. About 15 minutes to go for these drivers. Watch out for Benzik making a little bit of a claw her way through the field and making her way up to Sarah Dove and the number 3 McLaren here, but only 15 minutes. Doesn't look like she can make 4 seconds up, but if they get battling like these two are, she could find herself getting closer to them.
Well, speaking of getting closer, I don't think anybody could get much closer than Dove to the back of Swenson right now. That Lamborghini's an aggressive looking car at the best of times, but when its body language is like that, really pushing on, it certainly is a scary sight to have behind you. There's Camugli trying to get past Witcher. I'm not going to start singing that flipping song about toss a coin to your Witcher as a bit of a pun to this. Did my head in ages ago. Jenny Camugli's trying to do Witcher's head in though. Filling her mirrors at the moment, tries to get a nice cutback through club. Now look at that, that's worked really well this time. Godzilla down the inside. Bit of curb there, that's going to help her run out wide. Luckily, Witcher got a very, very good run across the line there. That was smashing stuff. Bottom right of your shot. Still, this is going on. Here's Mike Gow with his fancy camera work again. Look at this, they're using every bit of the track and more, as Connell said before. Look at that run from the Lamborghini down the straight. Who's later on the brakes into Copse? Svensson certainly is. Now look at that. By staying down the inside there, Dove really squeezed that line through Copse and lost so much time there, Connell. The thing is, if you're going to try and poke out and show that you're still there, you need to definitely get back into the racing line for that bit, don't you? And try and avoid some dirty air at least, but it's not the preferred line to stay down the inside if you're not actually going for the move.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, you want to show a wheel. Let's see Kamugli getting very, very close to the back of Witcher there. We just caught it and it looked like it was definitely going to be a collision, but thankfully not. Yeah, exactly that point, Chaz, especially in the turn one at a fast, high-speed corner like this. If you don't plan on passing or you think there may be a chance, but you're not convinced, you just sort of have a look, but then you swing it back in because you want to keep your momentum, obviously. Whereas if you stay close tight, you seen what Sarah Dove did. She lost about 3-4 tenths, but it won't be too hard done by, because Sarah Dove does seem as though she has a little bit of a pace advantage over Swenson. But these guys, Sarah Moore, Jane Kamugli, Sarah Witcher, Lexus, we have the Nissan, of course, that big beast of the of the Nissan. We've got a 5-second penalty now for Gemma Moore. That will, I presume, be the incident we seen in the replay earlier on, as you see it passed by Sarah Moore, now the sister of Gemma, gets that passed on Lexus, and now trying to hunt down that beautiful Nissan. But will Witcher get back? And that is, yeah, about as big a block pass as you'll ever get without getting a meeting with the stewards.
Yeah, a little bit late on the defence there from Sarah Moore, but wow, that was fantastic stuff from Witcher. So aggressive on the brakes, really committed stuff. To be fair, the fact she got it stopped as well was even more impressive. Sarah launching it through this first section though, look at that, really aggressive now, has to get on the brakes to make sure she doesn't go into the back of Selena's car. This is really close stuff between the two Lexus. Absolutely loving this. Great racing again from the More Female Racers series by Thrustmaster here on the sim grid. Down towards the final section once again, towards Brooklands. The Heck 1 Flexus glinting away in the sunlight. Love that car. Absolutely looks phenomenal, doesn't it? A little bit hot on the brakes there for Sarah Moore, but she gets a good slingshot out of Brooklands into Luffield. Looks down the inside, nothing doing there. Still tries to carry the pace around the corner. It's one of those very strange corners is Luffield. Using every bit of the circuit. Through Copse again. Look at this, it's so close, isn't it? Absolutely loving it. Through Maggots and Beckett's. Oh, nearly cutting the circuit there, but that's the problem, isn't it? When you follow in a car that closely, Connell, you try and look past it and try and guess where the apex will be. Sometimes it's very easy to get it wrong, but all this time, Kamugli's running away.
Yeah, exactly that. It looks as though Sarah Moore is getting a little bit agitated because she can indeed see Jane Kamugli and that Nissan getting away. And look at the gap that Kamugli has with just a lap of these two battling and getting involved in some block passing. But will Sarah Moore give a little bit of retaliation to Witcher here in the same corner that Witcher did the block pass to her? Gets it done, although Witcher does have the inside line. She does send it up the inside, and if she squares the corner off, which she doesn't look like she's done, she might get that position, although Sarah Moore and Witcher both go wide into the AstroTurf, although I think Witcher kept two wheels on the curb, the black and white curb, which is won't be a track limits warning. But gets the pass done, and we'll see how she can do in terms of catching Jenny Kamugli. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned that actually, Chaz. You when you're right behind within a tenth or 2 tenths of the car in front, especially when you've that looking in your rear view. I mean, look at that wing, and look at that car. It can be very difficult. So it's something that I find the most difficult to get used to when starting sim racing. Coming from looking at like what a narrow sliver compared to these cars, you can see pretty much everything of the track, even if you're right on the rear wheel of a bike. But when you're right behind a car like this, sometimes you actually just need to give yourself a couple of tenths, don't you? Just so you can see the corner. Especially at a track like this where the corners are so high speed. You need to give yourself a little bit of breathing room here so you can time your turn-ins.
Yeah, there's some corners like that, isn't there, where, I mean, we have been mentioning the different lines that you can take around here, but sometimes it's a bit painful. Oh, well, there's a different line from Verena May. Chucks it into Copse. Back end breaks away. It is a trait of the Ferrari. Sometimes feels like there's no weight over the rear end, despite there being a big, hefty V8 there. But that just shows you, chuck the Ferrari in and it'll go around very quickly. Now, Charlie Martin and... Oh, I thought she was going well too late on the brakes there. That scared me. Sarah Johnson just in front. Two Bentleys coming together. Surprised they can both fit on the same circuit. Trying to chase now though, but Charlie's lost a little bit of time with being late on the brakes there. But to be fair, it's been a very good chase so far. Pop and bang on the overrun from the Bentley. Flames out the side into Luffield. Now look at this. Charlie's taking a wide entrance into the corner to try and clip the apex on the way out and get a good run. But to be honest, Sarah Johnson's had a fantastic drive out of there. Gemma Moore's got a 25-second penalty now, I've seen.
Wow, that's the first time I've seen that.
It's incident on lap 1 involving cars 87 and 24. 10 seconds to car 24 for avoidable contact. And then on lap 1 involving 24 and 14, another 15 seconds for avoidable contact. So that would have been with the Lamborghini, wouldn't it? That unfortunately got turned off the circuit early on. That's Vandenberg's. Oh, Charlie Martin's overcooked it through Maggots and Beckett's. I think there was another car off the circuit there as well, actually. It may have just put her off there.
Yeah, who was that? Because Charlie Martin's gained a position. Is that Tia?
Is it Frau?
It's Tia, because she hasn't gone through the split.
Yeah, she hasn't. That's very true. Oh, heck.
And she was having a good drive too, just behind Sarah Moore and Benzik there.
Just shows you how easily it can go wrong here at Silverstone. Thing is, Maggots and Beckett's such a scary corner, or complex of corners in itself. I mean, it's one of those, it's like the bus stop at Daytona. Every single time you get to it, you just think, right, is it going to go wrong? Is it going to go wrong? Am I going to get it right? It's just, it really builds up the nerves in you. You know, I mean, especially this right-hander here that they've just gone through. You chuck it into there, just keep your eyes closed and pray. Honestly, just launch it in. But, yeah, Maggots and Beckett's, you know, very famous part of the motorsport world in itself. You know, we all know Maggots and Beckett's. We've got Tamir Benchik here in the AAA Esports machine, the Hungarian driver, chasing down Saradov in the Lamborghini. She's within a second now. And I don't know about you, Connell, but normally with the splitters and canards on these GT3 cars, they are just carbon fibre and black on the front. It looks fantastic when it's properly painted. It makes the front end of that Ferrari look really muscly and beefy, doesn't it?
Yeah, some of these liveries in this more female racer series has brought me to the Ferrari. I mean, I really like aesthetically, at least. Not too much to drive, but aesthetically, I'm really liking the Ferraris that are on show here. There's some fantastic liveries. Of course, there's some fantastic liveries in all the cars, but there's some crackers on the Ferrari. And yeah, the Ferrari, of course, it is a fun car to drive, but it's very lively, and it takes a certain driver or a certain setup to get it right. When it's one of those cars where when it's right, it does work very well, but when it's not completely perfect, it can be a real handful, which some of the other cars like the Aston aren't really. I mean, when it's not completely right, you're a little bit slower in, say, the Aston, but you still feel relatively comfortable, whereas the Ferrari is a bit temperamental.
It is indeed. You could see there, we're on board now with Sarah Fair, looking back at Maren Edwards in the 587 Mercedes, very angry looking anglerfish that is the Mercedes. And you could see that the splitter, the canards, even the diffuser on the back of the Ferrari are painted. Maren Edwards doesn't care, she's not got time to look at it. Through she goes up into 18th position. So car 18 now unfortunately down to P19. Through Copse they go there, you can see the splitter and diffuser all painted. Looks brilliant, really highlights the wonderful features on the 488 GT3. Maren Edwards, though, doesn't care for that. She's in the big beefy Mercedes, absolutely flying away at the moment. The lead gap is only 2.2 seconds at the minute, so Mia Rose hasn't completely disappeared off into the distance. It's now 2.6 actually. It's gone up by 0.4. And now Sarah Moore in the More Freaky Racing Lexus has caught up to Jenny Camugli in the Nissan here, Connell.
Yeah, that's impressive actually, because she lost a lot of time when battling with Witcher, and it looked as though that was it done for her chances with Camugli, because there was only really 10 minutes left, or roughly thereabouts, with her stint. Of course, we should see the pit window opening in a few minutes' time. So, yeah, I'm very impressed with the pace of Sarah Moore to get up to Jenny Camugli that quickly. And Camugli makes a mistake, and that is an easy overtake for Sarah Moore, a lot easier than she had it with Witcher when it was Lexus on Lexus. But there is the live championship table. The Jean Lacey Esports Academy team running away with it now. 140 if you put the flag out right now. And the AAA Esports team would still be second in the championship, although they're not having their customary fight for the podium just yet, although they are starting to make their way up through the order. Now it's key for the GTWR team to be up there, but they've just lost the position. Benzik has got Dove, so that point stand is 3 points difference. And we have the Pineapple Pizza team not having as great a run, but still in 6th place, and we know how safe and consistent they've been, especially at Monza. I don't want to tempt fate and say they're always safe and consistent and give the old commentators curse, but they're 4th in the championship, a little bit away from the podium spots, but they are defending hard from the GTWR female racing team, number 1 on 70 points. So 2 points separating 4th and 5th, 3 points separating 2nd and 3rd as things stand.
Sarah Moore has just got 10 seconds worth of penalties. So if your surname's Moore, Fisher in the chat has just said what I was going to say. These penalties are really Moorish, which no offence to Gemma and Sarah, but that is, quite the pun. You beat me to it there, mate. Now, we look at Sarah Moore in the Lexus, up into 12th place. But unfortunately, with a 10-second penalty, that will be at least 2 positions lost. Potentially 15th by the end. Hopefully she can make that back up though, or of course her co-driver will, as we're getting close to the pit window now. 33 minutes. And there is the live championship table in the Pro-Am standings. So Map 1 Racing, 37 points clear of Biscuit Motorsport MFR. Stargirl Racing 3rd on 85 points, but only 9 points clear of More Freaky Racing. And then Team Edison Genius Racing Bulbs only 4 points back. So it's close outside of the top 3, but to be fair, those podium positions look pretty sorted to me at the moment, Connell. It'll take a lot to upset that, but with Alu Gobi driving how she is now, the improvement we've seen has been phenomenal, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. And midway through her stint there, she was actually closing that gap down. It did go up to about 2.4, 2.5, and then it got brought back down to 1.8 or 1.6, I think was the lowest I seen it. But maybe tires have gone away a little bit, or for some reason Gobi has given up the ghost as such, and is now almost over 4 seconds. But don't forget, in Monza, the John Lacey Esports Academy team lost 4 or 5 seconds in pit lane when they were doing their driver swaps. So if they haven't got that dialed in, we could see that McLaren have another crack once the driver swaps happen.
Yeah, that's one thing we love about this series, isn't it? The difference in pace between the first set of drivers that we get, and then of course with the co-drivers as well. They have their own difference in pace that we love. Makes all the racing more and more interesting. And the thing is, they all adapt differently to different circuits as well, so you never know what we're going to get from one round to the next. Here's Hedda Rangster in the Turn 1 Pro-Am Aston Martin. A very colourful design on the wonderful Aston Martin Vantage GT3, the car that Connell's been driving more recently in Assetto Corsa Competizione. But the pit window is now open, Connell, and we're going to be seeing those changes very, very soon.
Yeah, the top 5 have all dove in the pit lane as soon as they got the opportunity. And it's an intense start around here, so maybe they're feeling the strain of the first few laps and have swapped their drivers in as soon as possible. Here is Charlotte Robinson in a lovely livery, green and yellow Lexus, and that is the number 11, of course, Pro-Am, you will see has the grey background, and the Pro has white. Anyone who is joining us for the first time, 2 separate championships, Pro and Pro-Am. And you can see there, of course, Pro-Am leader is Alu Gobi, which we have come to expect. Now, look at that, leaving pit lane, Jens Kaiser, 2.9 is that gap. We'll see it when it gets updated through the next split point to see if that really is 2.9, but that visually looks a little bit bigger than 2.9. But we'll keep an eye out there for you. Charlie Martin currently leading away, is yet to pit. You will notice the drivers who have yet to pit have the little orange rectangle beside their number, and obviously the green ones indicates that a driver swap has been done, and the mandatory mounted driver swaps, which is one, have been completed. So Charlie Martin will be dropping down the order, and it is Inouye Rose and Jens Kaiser who are realistically first and second, with Conway jumping into the number 3 McLaren. 3.1 is the gap. So yeah, the Rose team, John Lacey Esports Academy team, did lose a little bit of time again, but not as much as they did in Monza. So they might have to look into that, actually, because that is just free time being given away to the cars behind.
Yeah, it's very frustrating when something like that affects your race, but for us, it's just basically part of the reason that we find it so interesting. You know, it's an extra element that can go right, and an extra element that can go wrong. Sarah Moore still in 5th place, of course, with that 10-second penalty, a bit out of sync with the cars around her. Intriguing to see where she comes out after taking that penalty. Charlie Martin currently top of the pile in the number 100 Bentley. But we're looking here at Jens Kaiser flinging this McLaren around, and just looking back to qualifying, you know, this Map 1 racing McLaren was absolutely on the edge, wasn't it, with Alu Gobi at the wheel. Now, just needs to get his head down as Jens Kaiser and try and close that gap to Inouye Rose.
Yeah, and no matter what happens really throughout the rest of this race, a pole position will be a big confidence boost for Alu Gobi, and sometimes you just need that. I mean, you've all the time in the world. We've seen a lot of drivers have the potential, and anyone worth their salt can see the potential in them, but they just need to break their duck, whether it be a first pole position or a first race win, and it feels like it's coming forever. And then when that duck gets broken, it's just a snowball effect, isn't it? Where they just, it's almost like a mental switch. I know myself, I won my first ever race, and then won 7 in a row after that. And it's just that mental switch of, I really can do this. And you know, you can lie to others, but you can't lie to yourself. And until you do it, really, you still think to yourself, oh, I don't know. There's that little seed of doubt. But obviously, when you do it, you have the proof there to know you can do this. So it really is opening your mental approach, and then the snowball effect just hits.
Yeah, that's it. Like you say, that breakthrough makes all the difference to a driver's mentality. And hopefully, as this series continues on, and as I'm sure we go into further runnings of the series, we continue to see that development. Here's Andrea Benedetti. Fantastic name that suits the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo, the number 30 machine at the moment. This is the GTWR Clash team, or Clash team. Into the first section of the circuit. It's quite amazing how this first sector, well, of the Grand Prix layout in terms of Formula 1 standard anyway, goes from being such a fast couple of corners into such a slow couple of corners, and then a really fast section again. It's very stop-start, but it's very technical, because to switch your mindset from going through some fast corners into a slow section of the circuit, there is quite the big change, and I think a section like that is really what has to test these drivers' abilities. What do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you get the track, I'm trying to think of some other tracks. You get the track like Phillip Island, for example, where it's just all pretty much high corner speed. And when you get into that hairpin at the end, near the end of the track, it almost like you have to acclimatize yourself to a slower speed corner again. And that's what it feels like similarly around here, especially at this sector, especially this corner that they're going through right now. It is so slow. And when you're doing an average of 100, 110 mile an hour through the rest of the lap, to hit that corner, it feels like you're crawling. And obviously, when you feel like you're going slow, what are you going to do naturally as a racer? You're going to try and push the envelope. And that is a tricky corner to push the envelope on. So you can get caught out actually quite easily when you go from one of these fast-flowing sectors into the slower sectors where you feel like you need to make up more time. You feel slow. And then you get greedy, and then you find yourself in the gravel going, what happened there?
Well, you do in my case, anyway. This is Vicky Thompson in the Edison Racing Genius Racing Bulbs machine. Certainly flying at the moment. Love the sound of that Mercedes. I always said about the Merc that even when they did the original SLS AMG GT3, it just sounds like the exhaust isn't big enough to get all the back pressure out of it. It just sounds like it's constantly struggling. But of course, the traction control making a lot of noise as well on these cars. But this newest iteration looks absolutely phenomenal. Such an aggressive looking car.
Could not agree more. And especially, I'd love to hear one of these things in like the Echo. You know, you've got a pit complex on one side and stands on the other, and you get that great big echo that you hear down Front Street. I'd love to hear that thing. And yeah, Vicky and Marion Edwards is my favourite team name of throughout all the teams. Team Edison Lightbulb Racing. Don't know where it's come from, don't know where it's originated from, but yeah, tip my hat off for that one.
Well, I'm going to make you jealous now because I went to Italy in March 2019 before the world went crazy with COVID, and we realised that we had nothing to do on the Saturday that we were there. We went from a Wednesday to a Monday. Realised we had nothing to do on Saturday. Wanted to go into Milan. And we realised that along the way was a little place called Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. So we decided to just take a trip just to see what it was like, you know, as you would. And there happened to be Blancpain GT3 testing on with the European Le Mans Series LMP3s and TCR doing testing there as well. And I got to stand in the main grandstand at Monza on my own, well, with Beth, with GT3 cars caning it past down the straight. Nobody else about other than the people in the pit lane. It was phenomenal and a very, very odd situation, but I can guarantee, mate, you want to hear that Merc do what it does with the grandstands and the pit complex around it. I hope you get to experience that because it is just as good as you would expect it to be. Someone that's been as good as we expected him to be is Oscar Sandberg, isn't he? He's been flying here. Teammate, of course, to Charlie Martin. Bentley on Bentley once again as we're on the bonnet cam now. Trust me, there's enough surface to get a camera on it. With Turkey just in front. This chase has been going on all race long, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. Fighting for a top Bentley, which is a little bit of pride. I mean, people sometimes say, I don't care, you know, top manufacturer or not. You do care. I implore anyone to say they don't. But speaking of, it's like Noah's Ark here where we're going 2x2. This is an Aston Martin battle now. Josie Austin and Solberg, the number 101 Aston, and that sort of like psychedelic style rear end of that car. And Josie Austin in that favourite livery of mine just because there's a Labrador inside of it, and that's my only reason behind that. Oh, she's just gone wide, actually.
I was just going to say, where's she gone?
Right, I'm not speaking highly of anyone until the checker flag has gone out. Because anytime I do, someone's in the wall, in the gravel, something.
Well, fingers crossed that's not always the case, but yeah, the commentator's curse certainly strong there. This is Gregor Schill in the Stargirl Racing 335 Ferrari, one of my favourite liveries out there in this field. Really does suit it. Everybody always says, oh, a Ferrari has to be red, but this is one of the liveries that proves that wrong. Jack Noller, the next car ahead on track in the 24 machine, but we're back to the Bentley brawl as Oscar Sandberg still trying to get past Turkiet in the number 8 machine. Two very contrasting liveries to one another. Looks great though, really does look great on both of them. Shows you how let's use that word again, versatile the Bentley can be when it comes to popping liveries on it. Something else with a good livery on it is that Nissan, but Chris Hartevelt doesn't care about it. He's going to go straight through in the GTWR Female Racing Team 2 Lamborghini. That was a wonderful shot there, very quickly picked up by Mike Yao. Thanks very much, mate. But it's all going on here, Connell, and we've still got over 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, and a gap I've just been monitoring ever so slightly was Giorgio Simonini to Pinches. Now that has big championship implications, obviously. because they are fighting for the podium spots in the championship. Now, Giorgio was 16 seconds behind at the pit stop. And look at that, 10 seconds taken out. I don't know whether Pinches has made a mistake. It might have been the split updating a little bit coming out of pit lane that made the gap seem bigger than what it was. And now round the outside, this is going to be a brave move if it gets it done. And he might actually get it done.
Oh.
Well, yeah, you're going to get it done by sending the other into the gravel trap. That's one way of doing it, getting the elbows well and truly out. And now Benedetti has a chance of taking the pair of them, and that will be for position. And that'll be big for the championship, because that is, of course, the GTWR female racing Team 1, who are 4th in the championship, and they are 5th in the championship as things stand. And who's 4th in the championship? Well, it's only Team Pineapple. So this is a championship battle going on between these two, with a little bit of spice added in with Oscar Sandberg in the mix as well. So we've got the 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th in the championship having scraps with each other.
I've heard Brian Cox say a lot of things about planets, but if you ever wanted a visual representation of two planets slapping together, there you go. They've just given us a very, very good idea of what that would look like. Sorry?
Isn't that how the Big Bang happened?
It's pretty much, yeah. Someone just smacked two Bentleys together, I've heard. Before we dig ourselves into too big a hole and annoy people with that, there is Benedetti down the inside, taking the opportunity straight away.
Right through for the leaders.
No way. Oh, well, I say that, but there is. You're not lying. But there is, yes. Honore Rose, drive-through penalty. Surely, could that be track limits potentially? We'll wait and see until Michael Hamlet inevitably lets us know, I'm sure. But I imagine that might be for track limits. We've seen a few people around here really pushing it, haven't we? And maybe it's just caught up with them.
Yeah, and it's a track that sort of lends itself in a few areas where you want to, especially coming out of turn 1 and coming out of the last corner, where you're just trying to get on the power, just trying to keep that momentum built, and then you can run very easily onto the green. And now Benedetti is defended from Team Pineapple again. Now that is huge. We have seen the seemingly infallible John Lacey esports team look a bit mortal now. They weren't on pole position, and they might not end up winning this race, so it's going to be a very big long shot if they can win this race with this drive-through penalty. That would be a huge win. So it looks very, very unlikely. Now, this isn't for track limits. I'm just reading it. Thank you, Michael. The stewards have reviewed the race starts, and the number 956 was indeed speeding at race start. So we've seen actually the 956 get a drive-through penalty on the start. And I think the stewards, what to do is with any drive-through penalty from the starting procedure, they clear them and then review them. So sometimes it can be a little bit of a glitch with the game. They have reviewed it and have found the 956 was actually speeding. So a drive-through penalty from the start for the championship leaders. They've gone 3 for 3 so far in this season in terms of race wins. But look at this, we might actually find ourselves, it looks likely that we'll have a silver class, or Pro-Am, class car winning this race.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we saw it in qualifying, and everybody was saying in the chat, wow, that car needs reclassifying. But at the end of the day, they were put there at the beginning of the season, and the improvement shown by Alu Gobi has been amazing so far this season. And Jens Kaiser, obviously, as well, in that car, doing a great job. And to be honest, I think it's all going to pay off very soon, because at the end of the day, you need to keep it consistent. But can Honore Rose still get a top 5 finish out of that? Definitely going to be a top 10, I'd imagine. But can they get a top 5? Now, Gregor Schill has had a bit of a detour there through Maggots and part of Beckett's. Gets it back together again. But yeah, as Mike Yao, our director, has just said down my ear, that car does look battered at the back. Ferrari has definitely had some help somewhere. It's had a few scrapes and bangs here and there. But we enjoy a bit of contact here and there, don't we, Connell? It means that they're racing closely.
Yeah, Robin is racing and whatnot. But we're just looking at the gaps now. 16 minutes to go and Enora Rose is still in third position. It is a relatively short pit lane. If she was in the F1 complex, she'd be way further down the order. It was a much longer pit lane. But yeah, the normal traditional complex is a little bit shorter in terms of going through the pits. 5.7 seconds behind second place Conway, and then a further 9 seconds from Conway to Kaiser, I believe it is. We'll see it when it gets updated. So yeah, 15 seconds to make up in 15 minutes. It's going to have to be more than a second a lap. That was very, very unlikely against a guy of the caliber of Jens Kaiser. May potentially, if she puts enough pressure on Conway, try and get up the Conway, but that is still another huge ask. And now Giorgio Simonini is caught pinches, and this is a battle for the championship too. It's his second and third in the championship going at it. So a lot of narratives of just he's got the pass on actually on pinches. Pinches must have made a mistake. So there's a lot of championship implications happening right here.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Certainly lining us up well for the final part of the season. But Giorgio Simonini, I mean, how many times have we said how quick he is? Really does fly in this GTWR machine. And the Lamborghini looking very, very strong here at Silverstone especially. Third place at the moment though is still Honore Rose. Simonini 20 seconds back from there on, so to be fair, it's looking like a podium is out of reach, I'm afraid. Sandberg, 5-second penalty in 6th. And it's just saying, actually, Michael Hamlet's just mentioned as well, the number 3, in their very first More Female Races showing, the number 3 McLaren could actually end up winning the Pro Class on their first attempt, which would be amazing. Which would be really, really impressive. And I think this is going to be the first time for a long time that we've seen a McLaren 1-2 at Silverstone. Never mind in Formula 1.
Yeah, I'm getting West vibes back in the Hakkinen days.
Yes.
This is one of the best liveries ever, in my opinion, the West.
Yeah, agreed.
Absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, McLaren 1-2, what's going on here?
Certainly love to see it, don't we? I'm not sure if Hamilton got it in 2008 with that phenomenal drive. I'm not sure if it was Kovalainen that finished second, actually. I can't remember if Heikki finished or not. He didn't tend to light the world on fire, did he? But this is now quite an interesting looking field, because as you can see, all of the pro cars are from 2nd to 9th, other than Thibaut Props in 22nd, and then it's all the Pro-Am cars except for our race leader, Jens Kaiser, and of course Alu Gobi. Just showing the rest of the Pro-Am class how it's done. That's a great angle of the Nissan GTR here from on board with John Monroe in the NSN MFR Bentley number 89. Monroe is a beast in the Bentley, says Denise Pope. The Bentley's a beast on its own. John Monroe's a beast on his own. Put the two together and, well, you get 10th position and 2nd in the Pro-Am category at the moment then. Unfortunately, Bowler couldn't do anything about that there, but I think he's playing the safe game here, isn't he? He's just thinking, right, let's just bag ourselves some points. Let's not fight too hard. Let's just crack on, because with 12 minutes of this race to go, if you're going to have anything happen to you now, you're not going to have long to sort it back out again. So this is the bit of the race where the decisions are going to be difficult, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly that. And yeah, I mean, second and third, of course, your pride comes into it, but the difference between second and third is still a podium and still very valuable championship points. So if you do feel a little bit weaker than the car that was hunting you down, you feel like you can't match the pace, no point overdriving and find yourself in a worse position. Just monitoring the gap too between Honora Rose has actually gone up between Honora and Conway. And hello, Gregor, that's the grass on the inside and the outside of the track. Gregor is obviously having a little bit of difficulty with that car. It seems to be a little bit, or a lot of it, of a handful around here right now. We've seen him go wide a few times, and we can see the gap, of course, closing from Kaiser to Conway, but that is more so, I believe, Jens Kaiser sort of just relaxing and being conservative, bringing the car home, as opposed to Conway stepping up the pace that much. But there is the live championship table. That is Pro-Am. So we, of course, have the Map 1 Racing team, which is in the lead right now. 140, 105 to Biscuit Motorsport. And then the Stargirl Racing team would be on 89. 82 points for Team Edison. Genius Racing Bulbs. Don't know if that's an actual product that you can purchase, but nonetheless. And the NSN MFR team, 73 points. Now, is that the leaders?
Are you an accountant? That says 108, mate. No wonder your accounts are wrong.
3 screens going on, so I need to put the glasses on, clearly.
It's all good, mate. It's all good. But yes, there's a bit of lively action kicking off around every single camera angle at the moment. You can see there on the map on the right-hand side. Look how evenly spread most of the field is as well. There's just cars at every single corner of the track.
Kaiser's lost the lead.
He has?
Kaiser on the inside of turn 1.
Oh, I didn't think it was the right McLaren, you know. I thought maybe Conway just had a moment and recovered, but I didn't realise that was one going past the other there. So Kaiser, yes. Well noted, to be fair, Connell. That's blown it up. Mike is on it, getting a replay, trust us. But wow, big stuff. And that means, of course, the number 3 could win the race overall. Never mind just the Pro Class. They could win the race overall in their first showing here with 10 minutes to go.
Which is absolutely crazy. It's not their first season. It's their first race of their first season in the SimGrid and the More Female Racers series. So absolutely phenomenal stuff from this team, who have been just quietly going about their business, haven't they? Really, we haven't actually seen much of them. We've seen them in a bit of a battle with Sarah Dove early on in Silverstone. Now here's the incident. Now bear in mind, Kaiser has about an 8-second lead right now over second place, and it's just bit too much inside curb, hitting that little sausage there, and that really upset the car. And that is indeed the McLaren we seen on the inside of turn 1, just as we were watching Gregor Schill, and I was doing a bad job of reading out the championship stands.
Well, that's changed things massively. So it was 1.9 seconds last time, now it's 2.2. So Conway is actually opening up that gap at the front of the field in the number 3 machine. This is Sandberg, Pinches and Benedetti all battling together. Pinches in the Ferrari, round the outside. Look at that from Oscar Sandberg round Brooklands. He's going to get it down the inside for Luffield. That's beautiful stuff. I don't know how you fit a Bentley down that gap, but he's done it, and Benedetti's going to try and take advantage as well. Pinches comes across, nearly a bit of contact. They need to be careful not to tap the rear of that Lamborghini, otherwise it'll be curtains for the pair of them. Oh, that was close. I didn't know if there was still an overlap or not. But Benedetti into 6th place now. Pinches just behind. You can see he pinched the Bentley on his way into Luffield a little bit. And don't forget, Turkey is involved here as well, just behind this. But Benedetti knows that they can go after Sandberg, of course, with that 5-second penalty. So Sandberg's got the pressure of trying to get away from all this, but Benedetti wants to get the position on track and make sure that that gap is completely demolished.
I from what I've seen, I don't want to influence anybody's decisions. Of course, you can vote on our various social medias for the overtake of the race. I think that is my favourite overtake of the race. Again, I'm not influencing it, but that was a tough squeeze. Did enough to squeeze the Ferrari without actually making contact and causing a whole big scene. And that was a rough, aggressive pass, but it was clean as a whistle, and that was absolutely phenomenal stuff from Oscar Sandberg. Now, unfortunately for his sake, he has to, after doing all that good work, to maintain even ahead of these 3 cars, maybe even 4 with Hartfeld making a charge, he has to open up 5 seconds on them. He's doing his best job, but with 7 minutes to go, it's going to be very difficult to open the gap over quality of drivers such as these. 5 seconds and 7 minutes, unless they get into a bit of scrap here for position. I don't think he's going to quite do it, which would be cruel after the pass that he just made. But Gregor Schill now on Jack Noller, and this is going to be interesting, because that is a tough car to overtake, and Gregor has been very lively in that damaged Ferrari, the second hand. It hasn't been one careful owner from new. It's been through the wars, isn't it?
It certainly has. It's definitely depreciated since it left the showroom. But Gregor Schill doing a mega job of pushing it around at the minute. Jack Noller just in front there in the number 24 Bentley, trying to get it tucked in to Stowe at the end of the straight, using all of the circuit there. These lot know exactly how much circuit they can and can't use, don't they, for these track limits. Spend a lot of time getting used to it. Cutting the corner there quite a bit. You can see the car got slightly out of shape. Now, can he pile the pressure on? This is the thing. There's a bit of, not rubber banding in a network sense that we've seen before, but just rubber banding in terms of the Bentley's just got a bit of punch out the corner in comparison to the Ferrari, doesn't it? But look at the different lines they're taking here. Later turn in for Schill. He's going to try and go down the inside. Nola knows about it. He's nearly hit the back of the Hecwan Flexus, who for me, I must say, Connell, did make the pass of the race earlier on down the inside of the other Lexus, very late on the brakes. But that is also for position there, because you've then got Cross and Horton in front of this Bentley. So this is going to turn into a four-way scrap if they keep this pace up. Maybe, I was going to say a five-car scrap, but of course the McLaren behind is the race leader.
Yeah, this is going to be very crucial to this race. Actually, of course, these guys are battling, and when you're in a battle like this, you don't really care what the leader's doing. You don't really take notice. So will the leader be able to make his way through? Of course, Conway is going to be quite agitated, quite pressed to make this gap, because 2.8 is the gap to Jens Kaiser now over the line. But that can go away so quickly, even if you get held up for only a few corners. Gregor and Jack Noller et al. Will be aware now that the leader is right on their tail. I have no doubt that Harry Conway will be flashing his lights like a raving lunatic here, just to let them know. Yeah, we can see the reflection off the back of the Ferrari. He is flashing his lights. He is letting them know, but he's not close enough. I mean, you have to be right up at the rear end for Gregor to let you through, especially when he's in the middle of a four-man scrap. So yeah, I think this could be perfect for Jens Kaiser right now.
It could be indeed, and it's been pointed out as well. Dirk Groeneveld has also noticed this, that the gap back to Honore Rose from Jens Kaiser has also dropped. It's 2.3 seconds. It was about 6 seconds before, but now this is where we get to... Oh, hello, the Hecwan Flexus has gone sideways. Bentley goes one way, and that's the race leader. They've hit... Conway's gone into the Lexus. Kaiser's going to go through and take the lead. Rose is up into second. And Harry Conway, for not the team name that's in the bottom right, but Neptune Racing. Oh, he'll be absolutely kicking himself there. I'm not sure whether he didn't expect the Lexus to go and get some traction all of a sudden, because it was very sideways, wasn't it? And then it just bit in and sort of jolted forwards. That was such a shame. Great avoidance, by the way, by Pinches in the Ferrari. Sorry, it was Gregor Schill, wasn't it, in the Ferrari? Apologies. And Jack Noller. They went either way of it very quickly. That was a lovely transition there on the Bentley. That's a different car, believe it or not.
I tell you what, I know Rose can still win this race. If Jens Kaiser gets put under the pressure, of course, we have seen him make a mistake. That gap is coming down quite a bit. It's already down to 1.6 in one sector. I know Rose can still pull this out. It is going to be a run to the line, and Jens Kaiser is going to be put under an awful lot of pressure. He threw away the race lead earlier on, and there he is, a second chance. It is very rare after throwing away the lead like that you do get a second chance, and he'll be doing everything in his power to try and make that second chance count. But I know Rose is smelling blood, and she will be trying to close that gap down and trying to go 4 for 4, 100% win record in this series. We'll see the gap over the line, still 1.6. Really, you'd have to say, if she wants to win this race, you have to be taking 3-4 tenths out per sector, and even then it would be very close. But I'm absolutely gutted for that number 3 McLaren on their debut. We're not going to get our McLaren 1-2 as things stand, but that is just cruel luck. Of course, they weren't impatient behind the lap traffic. They weren't diving up the inside and thinking they had the right away just because they were the car doing the lap, and was patient with it, took their time, was managing the race, and unfortunately got caught out doing everything right. It actually reminds me a little bit of Zolder Endurance Cup race, where the leaders did absolutely everything right in their Ferrari and got taken out with 7 minutes to go by a back marker. It's a cruel fate, but look at that gap. Jens Kaiser now only has an 8 tenths lead to Honore Rose. This is going to go down right to the wire.
It really will. Within a second now, we know that is slipstream range. Here's a battle between Vicky Thompson and Declan Bowler. Very sideways there around Cops was Vicky Thompson. But yeah, the two race leaders close together indeed. The number 21 and the 956. Through Maggots and Beckett's go Vicky and Declan, but we've got just over a minute left to go in this race. So the leaders now must be very, very nip and tuck. Because if Honore Rose wins this after having a drive-through as well, it'll be amazing stuff. We've got Christ for the lead in the chat as well. We'll get to it, guys. We'll get to it. We're on it. It's not Radio 2. Victoria Thompson, though, climbing all over the back of that Nissan. If she doesn't get round it, she'll be taking the bumper home as a souvenir. Round the outside, then the inside. Lovely stuff on the number 95 Nissan. Great move down the inside. Is she going to make it stick? Computer says no in the form of Declan Bowler. Just about gets rid of the overlap. Now, we have 20 seconds left of this race, and this is the gap. And not too far behind in terms of the cars we were just looking at, but that is Jens Kaiser. Half a lap to go. Honore Rose just behind in that Mercedes, flashing the lights. Saying, get out of the way. I've got a very angry Mercedes behind, Honore Rose drifting that thing through the right-hander into the village complex they go. Hard on the brakes. Has to really concentrate to get it turned in. Does Honore chuck it down the inside? No, she plays it smart. Takes a late turn in. Doesn't manage to keep the speed. Tucks the splitter underneath the diffuser of the McLaren. Runs a little bit wide though, but can she get a good run? Down towards Brooklyn. She's going to tuck into the slipstream. On board we go now with the John Lacey Esports Academy Mercedes. They've got 3 from 3 so far in this championship. Will they make it 4 from 4? Turns in early for Brooklands. Jens Kaiser holds it close to the inside. Look at the mid-corner speed that Honore Rose has got. Closes up again. She's going to get a good run out of Luffield. This is the final corner of the race. Is she going to get the run? It doesn't look like it. Runs wide. Jens Kaiser is just going to hold on. For Map 1 Racing, hats off to the Pro-Am entry, taking round 4 of the championship. What a race indeed, Connell. That did come right down to the wire. Car 3, P3 for Harry Conway. They'll be gutted after that incident before, but that's racing, I'm afraid. But what a great showing either way from our race winners and, of course, the John Lacey Esports Academy team.
Wow, absolutely stunning. I mean, Jens Kaiser, I don't know what he'll be thanking, what higher power he'll be looking up to and praying tonight, but he threw that race lead away with that mistake. He probably thought he was absolutely devastated after all the good work, of course, of Luke Obi putting it on pole position, and that mistake cost him the race lead until that incident with the so unfortunate Harry Conway happened. And then it was like all Christmas is coming at once for Jens. And I tell you what, he did very, very well defensively there, because Honore Rose was throwing absolutely everything at her. It was great. And she just was driving like there was absolutely nothing to lose, absolutely sending at every corner. And Jens Kaiser was able to hold on just. I bet he's glad that checkered flag was waving this lap and not the next lap.
Oh, God, yeah, it's a good thing it's not an hour plus 1 lap, isn't it? Because I think we would have seen Honore Rose win that. But like you said there, though, Connell, considering that the two of them, those two cars, the 21 and the 956, both led that race and had chucked it away in their very own ways, to then both come back and get that was absolutely amazing. We still have a battle on track between Gregor Schill and Jack Noller, the Ferrari and the Bentley. Gregor obviously got past while that incident went on earlier, but it looks like Gregor's going to hold on as they get to the line here in 14th place. That was Vicky Thompson in the Mercedes, eventually in 11th position. But what a race indeed. We did say earlier that Silverstone promotes fantastic racing, and there you go. What an event that was. So much fun to cover that. And, I mean, we usually get treated to some fantastic battles all the way through. But to be honest, Connell, when it's the battle for the lead as well, it just makes it all the more enticing, doesn't it? The overall honours going down to the wire.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, you can watch massive battles mid-pack all day long, and it's fantastic, but it just does enhance it when it's the battle for the lead. And, of course, enhances it further when there's championship implications. But that was absolutely phenomenal. I didn't know what was going to happen. It seemed like that race we had, of course, at the Endurance Cup in Zolder, where it just looked like everything. If you're in the lead, almost like the race nobody wanted to win. You know, with the leaders drive through, then the next leaders, Jens Kaiser, inherited the lead, had an incident at turn 1, And then, of course, the unfortunate Harry Conway got a bit of bad luck there. But it was a race nobody wanted to win, it seemed. But Jens was fortunate enough to have his incident basically get wiped out by the incident for Conway and grab that victory. And what a victory for a Pro-Am driver and team.
Yeah, that was a real mega result, that. Very, very exciting all the way through that race. Plenty of action, and we'll of course be interviewing some of the drivers in just a minute. But here is a slow-mo of the incident then. So Harry Conway chucks it through what would be turn one of the Grand Prix circuit. The Lexus is out of the way, and he's just... I think he was expecting the car to go further off to the left, you know. But then he's just a little too late, unfortunately, in terms of getting the car stopped and turned around. We get plenty of time to admire the livery, but that was the moment that changed the race. It could have changed again after that, though, but yeah, what a brilliant, brilliant drive by Jens Kaiser and Alu Gobi to take that victory. But as mentioned, we will have some interviews in a second, but just talking about the overtakes of the race, though, Connell, I mean, there's the incidents early on as well. Look at that, the Lamborghini barging its way through. Benchik made a great job of actually saving that, you know, and continuing on, because we know that Ferrari had quite a bit of damage from that incident. But the overtake of the race for you, obviously, the Bentley, obviously the manoeuvre from, it was Sandberg, wasn't it, in the number 100 Bentley?
Yeah, Oscar Sandberg gets my pick for the move of this. It was absolutely phenomenal. Such a tight pass to do, especially going around the outside initially. When you commit to that, you can be very easily hung out to dry by the car in front, or the car on the inside, where they can drift wide and go, oh no, I've missed my braking point. Oh dear, you're being sent to the grass. There's nothing I can do about it. and you're just hung out to dry, and there's nowhere really for you to go. But yeah, to go around the outside, commit to it, and then just squeeze the Ferrari enough to give yourself an edge on the change of direction and to get that inside line without contact. It's a very, very difficult pass to get done, and I am impressed with that one. So hats off to you, Oscar Sandberg.
I think for me it has to be Celine Witcher's pass on Sarah Moore a little bit later. The Heck1 Flexus, having been overtaken into this corner we're looking at now, ironically with the Heck1 Flexus in shot as well, just dived to the left, late on the brakes, and just chucked it up the inside. Sarah tried to defend it last minute, little bit of contact, and somehow Celine managed to still get it stopped and turned in and keep the pace as well. Just awesome stuff indeed. There is the number 66 Heck1 Flexus. Very, very shiny machine. You can see it glinting away. I love it. Absolutely do love it. But we do have our race winners who we can have a quick chat with, as Alu Gobi and Jens Kaiser join us in the box. Guys, first off, well done. Jens clearly doesn't want to be interviewed by the look of it. He's run away. But Alu Gobi, well done. That was a very, very intense race early on with the contact. How did you find that?
That was so much to think about. Lap one was, so much going on. A surprise on my left side, and then touches probably all the way around. So yeah, Chaz, that was something.
And Jens, that last stint there at the end as well, the pressure was on from the cars behind, but when the race leader got taken out in front of you, did you sort of think that really made up for the incident? Did you think that you had it made then?
Oh yeah, I really feel sad for Mr. Conway. He did a really good race, and he probably would have deserved it, because I did these, bad mistake in T1 all by myself. Hit the curb of death, if I'm gonna say that correctly. I knew that from my practice sessions, and I was really happy that I didn't die for so long time in the race, and when it happened, I was really, really sad.
I was going to say, it's a heartbreaking moment, because the thing is, I mentioned earlier just how difficult Cops is as a corner. I even said myself, when I'm going through there, I just chuck it in and just close my eyes and pray that I don't hit anything. But to be fair, when you have that little tap of that curb, these cars, especially the McLaren, they get upset quite quickly, don't they?
With you want to hit the curb a little bit to chuck the car a little bit more in, but if you hit it too hard, like I did, you see what happens, you're gonna die. And I was really lucky that I didn't take anyone out there.
And Ali, just coming back to you, the first stint, obviously chasing down rows in the Mercedes, as everybody seems to have been this season. To be the one car doing that and be a Pro-Am entry as well must have made you feel really, really good about your development and your pace this season.
Yeah, let me first shout out to Jens for really, this is a stint, not only mine, but his. I knew from our first race in Misano, we put some moves on a Lexus, in Zandvoort, a Mercedes. And, in Monza, we really figured out that some practice can really get us a place. And so come to Silverstone, where I have a bit of experience, not in this game, but other sims, it felt really good to see it pay off.
It certainly did. And how have you found the McLaren this season? Is it a car that you've driven much before?
Chaz is the only car I've driven in this game. I haven't turned a lap in any other
Fair
car.
play. And what do you find that its main sort of positive point is? What do you think it's best at?
We found in this race, Chaz, that the aero balance is really something to enjoy. If you get loose, you can smash the throttle and bring it back. So I personally enjoyed that this race.
Well, it's a blessing in a GT3 car to be able to do that. Usually, you have to be in something front-wheel drive for that to save you. But it's good to hear that it's got its perks. It's a very pretty-looking machine as well, the McLaren. We all know they make very elegant-looking cars. Not many rounds left in the championship now, though. But of course, you two are top of the Pro-Am category. Do you think you can hold that and take the championship?
Chaz, are you talking to me? If you are, I think we can.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a difficult track, especially in the damp or wet conditions, so we'll have to see.
It's going to be a focusing one. Jens, are you hopeful to take that championship win?
Feeling that we are going to have something brought by us from a higher force, which will prevent us from.
Maybe rain. We'll see. But great.
Mike.
Well,
honestly, I'm really looking forward to the next race, to the last race. So far to say, my last experience with you, McLaren in the rain wasn't too pleasant because I was around 6 seconds off the pace because I didn't get the hang of it at all. Was dying, spinning, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I'll probably need to do some practice to keep the positions we're in.
Well, I hope it goes well for you. Alu, just starting with you, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Sure, Jens, first of all, and shout out to all the supporters, Benny, Tech in the chat, if you're there, and the other competitors.
And any thanks from you, Jens?
Thanks for the organization, thanks for the great commentary, thanks for the stewards, and thanks for the competition. Holy shit, you guys are amazing. We are having amazing race after race, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm really looking forward to continue this series. It's so good. It just makes so much fun. Love it.
I'm really glad you guys are enjoying it. Smashing stuff as always. Great to speak to you, and we'll see you next time round. Well done.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Cheers. You too, Jens.
Cheers.
Brilliant stuff there from our race winners. Apologies for the language there, of course, but entertaining all the same. We absolutely love it. Now, just going to see who we've got lined up for our next interview. We're going to bring in Mia Svensson from the number 3 Neptune Racing McLaren. Now, Mia, that looked like a very feisty race up front. The first lap as well gained a good few positions. Just talk us through how that felt.
Well, the race seemed like it was a lot of good luck followed by a lot of bad luck. So it sort of evened out there. But racing Dove, I was having quite a time defending. She was definitely a bit faster than me, so I was just trying to put my car where she couldn't overtake it. But other than that, just tried to keep it consistent.
And it's not the easiest of circuits to do that in, is it really, at Silverstone? It's got a lot of challenges in many different ways.
Yeah, for sure. I felt like Silverstone was definitely one of my stronger tracks, so I was pretty confident going into it. But yeah, it was definitely a tricky track to race on. And
I know it may be a bit of a sore point of this race, but what was going through your head when the incident happened near the end? Do you think that was something that was easily avoidable, or did you think it was just a little too late?
I don't think Conway could have moved out of the way. I think he didn't really have anywhere to go, so it was really unfortunate what happened. I didn't really see what was going on with the back markers, with what they were. I know that they were fighting, and they were obviously not wanting to give up any time to let us by. So, kind of hard to say, but I think it would have been nicer had they not taken each other out. And
well, yeah, I imagine the result would have been, well, much greater. Obviously, pretty much on for a win there, but still, I mean, a podium on your first appearance in the championship, car 3, P3, that's not too bad, is it?
It's not, like, I'm not disappointed. I think we could have, had we gotten a little bit luckier, we could have taken the win, but, you know, there's just some things you can't really handle. You can't really do anything about them.
Yeah, it's just the curse of motorsport sometimes, unfortunately, but a fantastic effort all the same. Before we let you go this evening, do you want to give a quick shout out to anybody?
Yeah, shout out to Conway for carrying me a lot, and yeah, he did a great stint.
Awesome stuff. Well, great to speak to you. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time round.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant stuff there, Mia Svensson in the eventual third place finishing McLaren. 2 McLarens on the podium tonight. Awesome stuff to see. And our final interview of the evening will be with none other than Giorgio Simonini and, of course, his teammate Alethea Book. Guys, welcome to the booth. That was certainly a race that you had to work hard for, wasn't it?
Good evening.
Evening, yeah. I mean, it was more work for me than Giorgio, I think. I don't know what Giorgio want to say about that.
Why? I mean, it has been an intense race, I think. In terms of driving, Thea has done a really good drive today. I'm not watching the mistake that she did because it's sometimes it's not predictable. The Lambo is just difficult to drive, so happens. But I'm really happy of how she has driven today because it was constant and really. I mean, you can see really the improvement from the first race to this race. So I'm really happy of the improvement that we are doing. So don't worry, Thea, about the mistake. We did a great job today, and we got our first podium in the Pro Series. So yes. you can't be more happy than this today, and I'm really glad.
Oh, thanks, Giorgio.
Mega stuff. Well, it certainly looked like a track round here, Thea, that it didn't really favour the Lamborghini that much, but on the flip side, there were little parts of the circuit that had its advantages to it.
Well, certainly not Maggots and Beckett's. I can tell you, it was. It's exactly where I lost it. But yeah, it did feel like it's in the straight lines. This car is a pleasure to drive. So, but yeah, it was a little bit bouncy, if I'm honest. It was really. I knew from the start that I was disadvantaged from the other driver. Like the McLaren is probably the best car around here, and then the Bentley was really good. So yeah, I had to do what I could do with this car. But thanks to Giorgio for his awesome training, we pulled 4th place, I think, P4. Yeah,
it was a very, very, very strong finish in the end. Final round of the season, Giorgio, not too far away. Are you excited for that one?
Yeah, I'm excited because probably it's gonna be rainy, so much action out there. And it will be exciting, even if it's dry, rainy. But it's Imola, so it's Italy. I'm Italian, so it's gonna be exciting.
And then a Lamborghini as well, of all things.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great to speak to you again, guys. Very well done, of course, today. It wasn't the easiest of races, but a lot of hard work went in. Taya, starting with you. Anybody you want to give a quick shout out to?
Ooh, you put me on the spot. Well, I'd like to thank the GTWR team. Giorgio was incredible. His teaching is incredible, yeah. And my community, as well as my fiancé, and the last person is Mark Lewis, who's been teaching me as well a lot. And Thrustmaster for organizing all this, because that's been absolutely incredible.
It really has been a mega series. Giorgio, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the GTWR that is making a huge job for the female racer. We have 4 teams, 4 female racers together with 4 co-drivers, and we all work together trying to get the best out of the female. And the spirit of the series is trying to get the female racing at the top, and I think we can prove it from today with not only GTWR but with all the female drivers that we are making a good work. And yeah, I just wanted to shout out GTWR. They are my followers and sponsors, whatever. Everyone, thank you.
Nicely said, nicely said. Well, great to speak to you again. Well done to both of you for today, and we look forward to seeing you at Imola.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I appreciate. See you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Awesome stuff. Well, another broadcast in the books here in the More Female Racers series by Thrustmaster Connell, and well, we knew Silverstone was going to be a gem. The drivers knew it was going to be the gem, and that battle to the end. I don't think we're going to get over that for a while, are we?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think the number 3 McLaren is going to get over for a long while either. It's very cruel fate for them, but they have another chance to redeem themselves. And of course, we have Imola coming up, and what a cracker that circuit is. And also, we will have changeable conditions, shall we say. So that'll, of course, provide an extra challenge for these drivers and have maybe a few more exciting battles along the way. So I'm very excited for that one.
It really is going to be a very, very intense test to finish out the season. Quick thank yous, of course, as ever. Make sure you do check out the SimGrid website for any events that you can get involved in. Not just in the community itself, but obviously we have daily racing as well. You know, it doesn't have to be one of the series that we've already got going on. Make sure you check out Coach Dave Academy. If you want to up your game, you can, of course, get yourself one of the best setups in the business from Coach Dave Academy. Thanks also to Thrustmaster for their continued support of the SimGrid, doing a wonderful job and helping us do everything that we do here on the SimGrid. Thank you, of course, to Mike Yao of Simply Race for his wonderful broadcasts and consistent, fantastic replays and everything that he brings us as ever. Michael Hamlet for the wonderful information. Connell Courtney, my co-commentator, an absolute star. And my name is Chaz Dracop, and this has been the More Female Racers series by Thrustmaster. We'll see you at Imola in a week's time, everybody. Have yourselves a fantastic evening. See you soon.